So actually what we're going to be using today comes from Broadleaf. They do humane, free-roaming, I think elk and venison and maybe a few other things, I'm not sure. They primarily only sell to, I think, well, exclusively actually only sell to other vendors. So you either have to find a good place, a reputable place online that carries true Broadleaf products, or you have to maybe find a store locally that carries it. A special meat market or something might carry it. Um, they're 100% humane. So I did, just because we're talking about shanks, and I know some people use cut up shanks to make ossobuco, and a lot of people, when they think of ossobuco, they think of immediately they think of veal. And I just want to let you know, no worries. You know, we will never do anything made from veal. In fact, we won't even do things made from regular beef or regular anything that we do. If it is something like beef, it has to be humane. It has to be, you know, sustainably sourced. So anyway, check out they've got a website, I think. You can Google broadleaf meats um and learn more information on how they farm their meats and things. So today we're going to talk about how to make. I talked a little bit about, you know, in the other one about just broth in general. But today we're going to be talking about how to take what you put in the broth and actually turn it into noodles. Basically, I call them silver noodles because they're made from really any kind of silver will do. You can use shank silver, you can use rib silver, but for today, since I had shank, that's what we're doing in this. This is actually a silver off of a shank, a piece of a shank. It was cut in slices. So anyway, when you make stock like this and you use, like I was talking about in another video, you use the silvers to make the stock. I did a little miniature batch this time, but forgot to show you just how, I mean, this is so tender after being in the pot for, you know, 6 to 12 hours. It is so tender that, you know, the toughest thing, the meat silver is always the toughest thing. You wouldn't expect it to be tender, right? Let me just show you how easily this just kind of, and it's almost like the consistency of like a noodle almost. So you know, raw, I'd never be able to do this raw because they are extremely. I was just able to put a wee bit of pressure and split it. That's how I'm gonna do it again. It's like noodles. You can make little noodles out of this, you know. They are a bit stretchy, so it's hard for me to do with one hand, but there you go. It's I've got it in relatively 3 different pieces. It's really soft, melts in your mouth, has a consistency to it similar to noodles. Any silver from anything, whether it's shanks, ribs, whatever, always flavours the stock immensely. But just because you drain the stock and get rid of the bones doesn't mean that you've got to get rid of things like this. This breaks down and softens way more than cartilage does. Far more than cartilage does. Sometimes you can't ever eat the cartilage because it's too chewy and tough. These silvers always get really soft, and you would think after being in the pot for that long they wouldn't have any taste, and they do. They still retain some of their taste, unlike a lot of things that you put in to flavour the stock. So what I do is all the pieces like that I put in like that are really soft like this, I just leave it in there, and it ends up being kind of like a pieces in soup or something. For the dumb people out there, if something is really tough, don't try and swallow it whole or something. Don't be stupid. You do have to cook it a long time to get it like this. You have to cook it as long as you would plan to cook to make stock. People say anywhere between 6 to 12 hours depending on your preference. But once the stock is made, you take it out and it's really tasty. A lot of people they strain it and they throw this away. I'm sitting there with my nails dug into my skull. That's even if they're smart enough to put it in the stock in the beginning. Most people what they do, they just rip off the silver and throw it in the trash. So you can watch the video I did on how to make the silver stock if you want that. But I figured I'd just do this in a separate video since it's not necessarily about stock, it's more about eating, you know, the actual silver, like as a noodle or something. I call them silver noodles. That's what I have come to call them. But I don't think there's any technical term for it really.